Before it was 25. Now 50. Yeah. Oh, many. My boss worked short time. You kept firing me? You thought of it? Oh, okay. Oh, did you really? I know. No.
You remember me? Huh? You remember me? God, God.
I might do. Well, I would bring the prosecution. We'll probably like it's not a little one. Just like
Nice to meet you. Counselor J. Robinson. Yeah, I represent this area. I was on this morning. CB24 wanted to be on the news. I said, no, I'm going home. Yeah, it's a great center. Are you kidding me? I'm right in this room. I'm Counselor J. Robinson, and I represent this neighborhood. My name is Martha.
Heather, pull the screen.
Yes.
Down the screen. Good afternoon, everyone. We're going to get rolling in a few minutes. If you are Rumball staff, please give your seat to someone who is not a Rumball staff. Unless you need to sit with your individual. If you're a Rumball staff and you can give your seat to somebody, please do that, okay? We want to roll in about now. So just give a few minutes for people to sit. But if you're Rumball staff, can you give your seat to somebody? Rumball staff. We got to clear up Make sure you can see. Amy, can you make sure you can see?
No, they're not.
Mark, you want to see? Mark. Mark. Sorry.
Wow. Yes.
The man has worked very hard for a center which has been named after him. That's, of course, Bob Rumball of the Bob Rumball Center for the Deaf. Bob, can you please come up?
It's always good to be with friends. Not only these very special friends that are here who did so much for us, all of our agencies are going to benefit from what has happened. And especially to you with the publicity, because when people know a little bit about what is happening, then it makes it easier for us to try and do the job that needs to be done. And so for all of us, the very, very special opportunity to say thanks to Whipper, to Harold, and all of you for making one more opportunity for the people in this city to know that there are giants still here that do things even if they're losing, that we might win. So for all of us, thank you.
In 1975, while heading north on Bayview Avenue, just north of Lawrence Avenue, Rumball saw a 6-acre estate owned by General Bruce Matthews. He felt it would be a perfect home for a center for the deaf. Though the property was not for sale, Rumball knocked on the door and made General Matthews an offer.
He says, well, it's not for sale, you know. I said, no, but you'll want to sell it and I'll want to buy it. And I'm going to give you an offer, an open offer. And it's good for as long as you and I live. And one day he called me and said, you still want the property? I said, yeah. And he says, can you get the money today? And I said, how much money are you talking about? And he had upped the price. I had offered him $700,000. He upped it to $900,000. And I said, okay, I'll take it. And I went and borrowed the $900,000 that day. I couldn't borrow 10 cents from the bank today, but I walked in, signed my name, got $900,000 and went over and gave it to him at number 10 Toronto Street, where his office was. And he said, I didn't think you could do it. I said, well, when you called me, I didn't know whether I could do it. But here it is.
His friend and Caledon neighbor, Con Smythe, founder of the Toronto Maple Leafs Hockey Club, would be instrumental in the development of the centre. Smythe wanted to be part of this project, and he had the connections to help make it happen. The centre would offer a recreational, social, and spiritual retreat for the deaf.
Smythe used to come and say, who are we going to see today? And he'd pick me up with the chauffeur, we go to the place, and I would have no idea where we're going. And he said, I want you to tell these fellows what you're doing and why you're doing it and why you need the help. And he'd put the arm on. And many of them contributed.
You're going to join us and we're going to sing "O Canada." Well, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for coming. That was a beautiful way to sing "O Canada," and that was probably a new experience for many of you. They were trying to figure out why I wasn't singing along, and I guess if you heard the way I was singing, you would understand why I was called to work with people who had less hearing than the rest of us. It was not a good thing. Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming to the building that Bob Rumball built. So thank you for being part of our celebration today. And yes, let's do that. It's great to see so many friends here over the years. Like many of you, like so many of you, the center, the mission, the Deaf Church has had an influence and impact on your life. And I'm going to ask one of my staff to come up and I'm going to share he's going to share with you just a little bit about his story, how he landed with Rumball. And it really it summarizes the Rumball story. So I'm going to ask my good friend Fred to come on up and he's going to share with you a few words.
Afternoon, everyone. You traveled here today. So it's celebrating, the 40th anniversary. The community has been sending in countless number of stories and pictures in the past few months. And each of the stories and pictures, of course, they're very unique. All the pictures that you see here today, the faces that you see, they have a story to tell. So I don't know how they, decide to pick, which story to use, for today's event. But I do remember that, a while back, there used to be a deaf door club down in the basement that used to play every Friday night. So I don't know if they had anything to do with this. I was picking the story. So anyway, the story I'm going to share with you today is a true story from a guy that I once knew. Well, I know him. This all began about 14 years ago. A young man in his mid-20s. He was here. But one night, all of a sudden he woke up and he realized that he lost his hearing completely. He couldn't hear himself talk. He couldn't hear himself scream, in fact, because he was so scared. He couldn't hear his teeth chatter. Yeah. You have to know that several years before he became deaf, he was actually starting to lose his hearing. So deep in his head, he knew that, one day he would lose his hearing completely. Maybe when he's 80, or maybe when he's celebrating, his 100th birthday with Mary. Not when he's in his mid-20s, when all his friends and peers are in a golden age where people are developing, the careers, building the families, his friends, some of them even, started having kids. But for him, literally overnight, everything was taken away from him. He lost his share, he lost his livelihood. His friends, started, leaving him. It was a life-changing event, for the worse, to say the least. So much so that at one point in time that night, he thought about ending everything completely. But at that moment, there was a thought, a voice that spoke to him in his head. That's up front. He fell. Do not be afraid. As long as you're living, everything will be okay. There will be opportunities ahead. There's a plan for you. So at the break of dawn, he went to the hospital. The doctors tried everything. They put in multiple IVs in him, giving him, different kinds of medications. Of course, it didn't work. So for the next couple of years, this young man, his job was really a professional patient. Every day he would be seeing, different kinds of doctors, different surgeons, different specialists who try, holistic, therapies and things, but nothing helped. And so he was about to give up. He realized that, if he was going to continue to live, he would have to embrace his new identity as a deaf person. But in order to embrace his new identity, he would need to learn the language of the people. And that, of course, would be, ASL, American Sign Language. That summer, he took it to himself. He went to a deaf agency and took a 1-month immersion course in ASL. It was fantastic because, for the past 2 years, the people that he saw was just, his family, his nucleus family, and the doctors that he was seeing. And for the first time, he was meeting people outside of this group. And literally, the class was teaching him the ABCs. Yeah. Once again. Yeah. Now, after that 1 month, when the course, finished, he started, to get scared again because he thought, what am I going to do now? For people who have taken a second language, it's a hobby or whatever it is. That's the fact that the moment you stop using a language is the moment that you, start losing it. It's just a hobby. So he knew that he needs to hone his ASL skill every day. But who's he going to practice with? Nobody that he knew, no sign language. His family didn't know sign language. The friends that he met at the summer course, well, they had their own lives to live. They had work to do. They have families to attend to. Glory to the Almighty. Because 40 years ago, there was a plan through the Reverend Rumball, faithful servant. He had the vision, the passion, the heart, the fire to build the Rumball Canadian Center of Excellence for the Deaf that you're sitting in here right now. So a young man knocked on the door and said, I got a lot of time on my hand. I can volunteer my time in exchange. I want to practice ASL, with the people here in the center. BRCCED, of course, come on in. We're happy to take, anybody here. Our door is always open. For the next 2 months, a young man, he kept his ABCs. He didn't lose them. He picked up a few new words. But of course, his ASL skill was still very, very broken. He was a novice. One day, the powers that be came up to him and said, "Hey, what you've been doing, for us has been, very, very good. And we want to offer you a paying job here. As an IT assistant." Wow. That's the best thing that ever happened to him since he lost his hearing. You can imagine this. Never in his mind did he think that, after losing his hearing, he'd be able to be a productive human being in society again. A tax-paying human being. So really, being able to pay tax is a blessing. Time progressed, Our young man, our young friend here, continued to work, and he progressed, professionally and personally. From an assistant, he was promoted to a coordinator, and later a manager. That very same year, he met the love of his life, whom they were happily married for the past 6 years. And 2 years ago, after years of trying and failing, his wife told him that she was pregnant. Wow. And shortly after that, his boss told him, hey, we're going to promote you to director position. All of this sounds like coincidence, right? Or was this a plan that was spoken to him the night when he wanted to end everything? I will leave it to you to decide, but one thing that is for sure, if it weren't for the decision, the passion, the faith of Reverend Bob Rumball 40 years ago, none of this would have happened. Not for our young man. This young man is no more. He's no longer a young man because, in fact, this year he's turning 40 with a senator together. You're thinking there's so many coincidences in this story. It sounds like a story that you pull off a movie script. I tell you, this is not a fictional story. It's a true story that happened to a guy that I know. His name is Fred. Friends, I cannot thank you enough for coming here today. Because of you, people in the community have been blessed with unique programs and opportunities that are not found anywhere else in Ontario, or perhaps even in Canada. Whether they're 1 to 100 years old, there's something that the BRCCED has to offer. Literally, just this past weekend, we celebrated the 100th birthday for Mary here. So I'm not lying. So as we celebrate, we should also look forward to the next 40 years ahead. And I challenge each and every one of you to continue to spread the fire that the Reverend Rumball started here 40 years ago.
Fred, thank you very much for that. Kind of twisted Fred's arm to come in today because he's not feeling very well at all, so don't shake his hand. I'm going to introduce you to Karen Chambers. She's my CEO. She just has a few words.
Hi, everybody. Welcome. Derek asked me today, normally I get up here and I talk about all the fantastic things that this organization does, and that's so easy for me to do because there is no shortage of wonderful work that happens here. But Derek did ask me to tell you a little bit about me today. So my story began with Rumball in 1992. That was almost 27 years ago. And back then we used to look for jobs in newspapers. That's the way that we would try and find a job, was to comb through a newspaper, see what was close to home, see what fit our skill set. So I saw an ad for a finance manager at BRAD on Bayview, which happened to be really close to home for me. So I came for the interview, and immediately walking through the doors, this place just screamed at me, "You need to work here." So I did my best in the interview, and I was hired. And I gotta tell you, I knew absolutely nothing about deafness. I knew nothing about deaf culture. I knew no sign language at all. So I'm always so grateful for my coaches at that time who saw Joy Potts this morning. I know she's with us. She was one of my coaches, and Doris McKillop, Francis Gregory, Keithy Johnson, there were so many people that were so impactful in my life when I started working here. They provided a feeling of belonging and very much were my work family. I remember when, shortly after I started, probably a couple of years after I started working here, my grandmother passed away. And we were at the funeral home, and somebody pulled up on a motorcycle in leather chaps. And my mom looked out the window and she's like, who the heck is that? Well, lo and behold, it was Reverend Rumball. And that just meant so much to me that he would show up for my grandmother's visitation. And on top of that, he also knew our family minister and co-officiated her funeral service, and she would have just been overjoyed with that. So, and Reverend Rumball's comments to my parents at that time were, she belongs to us, meaning me. And I had no idea what he actually meant and what the impact of those words would be when he said them. But 27 years later, I guess I kind of do. I've worked in finance, I've worked in HR, I've worked in administration, and I volunteered on the board of directors for 4 years, serving as treasurer. And in all those roles, my guiding principles in all the decisions that one makes in a day is always to try and do what's best for the people that we support and try and do what's best for the agency. Every day here is an opportunity to inspire other people and to make a positive difference in someone else's life. It's so much more than a job. Every day you experience a gamut of emotions, from sadness to pure joy when you see a milestone reached by someone that we support. And little did I know, actually, that I was a natural born advocate for social justice. And so really this is a great place for me to be. For my 27 years of service, for me, there's just no greater feeling than going home at the end of the day and knowing that you've made a difference in someone's life and you've helped them. And working for an organization that promotes and embraces a culture of learning, caring, inclusion, and belonging. Again, this is very much a family for me. No 2 days at work ever look the same. You will never, ever become bored working in this environment. There's just too many great things that happen in a day. It's provided me with a lifetime of learning opportunities, and it's been an honor to assist Reverend Rumball carry out his legacy. I'll always be grateful to the deaf community for the privilege of allowing me to be a part of making today better. And I'm exceptionally grateful to Reverend Rumball for helping me find my path in life. I've always believed that if you don't find your path, it will come tearing after you, and it will find you. Anyway, I would just really like to thank Francine. Francine, I know I was talking to you earlier. Oh, she's way back there. From the Ministry of Children, Community, and Social Services. Thanks for coming out, Francine. And as always, thank you for the support from the ministry for the work that we do. And thank you all for coming out and celebrating this milestone anniversary with us.
Thank you, Karen. I just got reminded that I didn't introduce myself. My name is Derek Rumball. That comes from the As If You Didn't Know file. And I just really want to share with you a few words that I share so much of what has happened here at the center with you, because I've been with Reverend Rumball since 1962. And from those years when I wasn't talking and only signing, and they thought that there was something wrong with me, they were right, but there was something wrong with me because I could sign but chose not to speak. Is probably because the only intelligent conversations I had were with the ladies from the church and the gentlemen from the church who were there before me. I've been in this building as long as most of you have. I was here when Pauline McGibbon put that shovel in the ground with Connie Smythe and broke the ground. And I was here skateboarding while they were building it. It was so sad for me when they put the carpet down. But this is entrenched in our lives. So many of you are telling the same stories. I remember when on January 25th of 1978, they had the first church service. Monumental. Life-changing. And we had friends that helped us. And Reverend Rumball had all these giants in his life. And we spoke to them earlier. Whipper Watson, Ballard, Harold Ballard, Conn Smythe, King Clancy. Those 4 men came in here, and some of you are telling stories about pictures on the wall that reminded them of it. And I got to share with you a little story. When I was a young person here, and my job while I was going to school, playing hockey, going to school, was to be the overnight security guard. Go figure that, right? It was time for me to fix my truck. And one night I'm here with my dad, and we're pulling the drive shaft out of my Bronco. My dad's in his suit, so I know he's going somewhere. And my dad wore black, and when he was fundraising, he'd always wear his black shirt with his collar, and the guilt money would flow. So we're lying underneath the Bronco downstairs right here. He's got one end of the drive. I got one end, my dad's got the other end at the transmission side. And I look out from underneath the truck, and these 4 giants are walking down the ramp. And the garage door is open, there's a bright light behind him, and these big, Whipper Watson is like this big. He's got mitts the size of snowshoes, hands the size of snowshoes. King Clancy's the tiniest of them, man. Smythe was the only guy I really was ever afraid of, but he's a little guy. And then there's Harold Ballard. So these 4 giants of sports in Canada are walking down the ramp with the light behind him, and I'm going, I got a problem here. Just as that's happening, Bob Rumball is ripping the drive shaft out of the transmission, drops it on my nose, right across here. I throw the drive shaft off while I'm doing it. I pull it out of the other end. Guess what happens? Drops on Bob Rumball's nose. So there's both of us in the basement downstairs. Well, Whipper says, I got to take your dad up for fundraising. Grabs my nose, and I can still hear the sound, so it'll be a little nauseous. Straightens my nose out, and the 4 of them, there's my dad with a handkerchief, just keeping the mud in, and they walk out, and they went out to change the world. They went out to change the world. There's plaques all over this building of people who made a difference in our life. They were our champions. Whether it was Ballard or Smythe or Whipper and King Clancy and all the individual names you see of people that cared so much that they stood up with their dollars and cents. We couldn't have done it without them. We're going to recognize some of our friends that are here, but I just want you to watch a little clip.
When I ride the public transport back here to the center, and I'm on the bus, and I hear the lady say, when did he die? And I said, there are some people's names that are on buildings and stuff before they die. Oh. They said, how do you know? I said, I'm Bob Rumball. And my name probably doesn't belong there. But people don't give to causes as much as they give to people. So that when Smythe decided to build the chapel, and Ballard decided to build the cafeteria, and King Clancy would come up and thrill the people up here. Those kind of things were, I would say, because they were my friends. And it's been a great journey and a great trip.
Just for those that I was watching some of the conversation, Reverend Rumball has indeed passed away. So the name on the building is indeed a tribute to him. It was always a joke I told in poor taste. When I would speak at Lions and Rotary Club, they say, well, ask you, how's your father doing? And I'd say, well, we lost him this morning. They go, I'm really sorry. I said, no, we hope he turns around and walks back home, but we'll find him. And then the day my dad passed away, the next night I had a speaking engagement with the Lions up north, and one of the guy who knows me very well preempted me with the joke, did not know my dad passed away. However, my dad would have got a really good chuckle out of that. We can't do what we do without our elected officials, and we have so many of them with us here today to share greetings. So Christina Tesser-Dirkston is here, and she's going to come introduce herself and say a few words to you.
Thank you so much. It's so wonderful to be here this afternoon. I actually have kind of a personal connection with this property because I actually got married just next door 20 years ago, and we're still married, so the building was good luck. Thank you. I am the counselor for Ward 1 in Milton, and that's where I was born and raised. And I'm really pleased to be back here today to pass along my greetings and the greetings of my fellow members of council, as well as our mayor, Gord Krantz, and all the people of Milton. In Milton, we have a very proud tradition of supporting the work of different innovative, well, for example, the EC Drury High School for the Deaf. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. EC Drury was opened in 1963, and we now have the lovely day center, the Rumball Center in Milton as well. The work that Rumball does is far-reaching, and it leaves a legacy of respect, support, and dedication to those that it serves. It leaves a legacy of excellence, which we are proud to be part of in Milton. And on behalf of the people of Milton and the mayor of Milton and members of council, I wish to pass along my best wishes and greetings and congratulations on the excellent work that you've done so far, and keep it going. Thank you so much.
At the municipal level here in the city of Toronto, our representative at council is Jay Robinson. I'm going to ask her to come up and say a few words.
Thank you very much, Derek, and I'm so pleased to be here today. I am the city councillor that represents Ward 15 Don Valley West, and I'm very happy that this is one of our gems in Don Valley West. I'm so pleased to represent this area. I also have a bit of a connection to this center, as I do the CNIB. Just south of here at the CNIB, my great uncle was blinded in the war and came back to Toronto questioning what his future would be and his legacy, and ended up starting the CNIB. And I think he worked with some of those Toronto giants that you referenced. Also, my grandfather, John Robinson, was the lawyer for Conn Smythe, and they were very close. So I'm so thrilled to hear you tell Derek those wonderful Toronto stories and really the genesis of this amazing institution. I just want to say happy anniversary. 40 years is a huge milestone, and it gives me great pleasure to extend my heartfelt greetings to everyone, Derek, his family, the volunteers, the staff, and all the families that are part and parcel of this wonderful foundation for the deaf. All of you should be commended for the awareness and the positive change that you've brought, not just to the local community, but also Toronto. And by advocating for deaf Canadians and those living with multiple challenges, you continue to empower individuals in our city. Providing higher quality of life through funding, mental health initiatives, developmental and seniors services, camps, and educational programming. There's countless ways that you are making a difference in many lives. And really, I think our community has been shaped in immeasurable ways since the opening of this center on Bayview Avenue. And it really stands as a legacy to the life of the Reverend Robert Rumball, who I think is clearly very loved and revered. So on behalf of the mayor, and I spent the morning with Mayor Tory, and I told him I was coming here this afternoon, and he was thrilled. And he said, please extend my greetings and best wishes. But on behalf of all of Toronto City Council, please accept our sincerest congratulations on this significant milestone and best wishes for a memorable anniversary celebration. And I would like to present to Derek this honorary scroll on behalf of the City of Toronto to Derek at this time.
Our representative at the federal level, Rob Oliphant, many of you know him because he frequents the place quite a bit. So you know what, that big gangly giant guy who comes in here? That's him, but his assistant is here with, Rob Oliphant wasn't able to make it. And he is our federal member, and his assistant's here with him.
Hello. I work for Member of Parliament Rob Oliphant, and my name is Michael Fontaine. He was not able to be here today because he is in Ottawa, but he asked that I bring greetings from the Prime Minister and as well from himself. So I'd like to read those to you now. From the Prime Minister. Dear friends, I'm pleased to extend my warmest greetings to everyone marking the 40th anniversary of the Bob Rumball Canadian Centre of Excellence for the Deaf in Toronto. Since 1979, the Bob Rumball Canadian Centre of Excellence for the Deaf has provided programs, services, and activities that improve the lives of hearing impaired individuals in the Greater Toronto Area. At the root of all the organization's initiatives is a profound respect for the dignity and worth of every person, regardless of ability. This milestone provides a wonderful opportunity to reflect upon the history of your organization and to celebrate its many achievements. I would like to commend everyone involved with the Centre for helping deaf people in your community overcoming challenges and leading fulfilling lives. You can take pride in knowing that you are making a difference in the lives of your fellow citizens. Please accept my best wishes for a memorable anniversary and every success in the years to come. Sincerely, the Right Honourable Justin Trudeau. I would like now to present greetings from the Member of Parliament, Rob Oliphant. I would like to extend congratulations to all the organizers, attendees, and volunteers on the occasion of the Bob Rumball Canadian Centre of Excellence for the Deaf's 40th anniversary celebration. Services, programs, and advocacy provided by the Bob Rumball Canadian Centre of Excellence for the Deaf are vital to the overall quality of life for those with hearing impairments. Programs offered by the Centre are as varied as the deaf community itself, and offers support for a diverse range of needs beyond hearing impairment, including support for mental health, senior services, and those with physical and intellectual disabilities. The Centre's advocacy beyond the deaf community helps Canadians understand the challenges and needs of those with hearing impairments. I'm thankful to the Centre for their advocacy over the years. I do my best in Ottawa to mirror the dedication and passion that staff and volunteers bring to the Centre every day. I was glad that the advocacy of organizations like Bob Rumball has led to the introduction of the Accessible Canada Act, which will provide all Canadians with disabilities greater and more consistent accessibility. Additionally, it has fostered investments made in the federal government's most recent budget to help those with intellectual disabilities, autism spectrum disorder, and other varying abilities. I am delighted to congratulate the Bob Rumball Canadian Centre of Excellence for the Deaf on their 40 years of excellent work, and I look forward to working with them in the years to come. Yours sincerely, Robert Oliphant, Member of Parliament.
Also with us today is the good friend of mine. I call her my friend because her assistant breaks into my board meetings when she wants to. Has private parties that I'm not allowed to come to. And like we know, it's always the executive assistant that runs the world. But however, my good friend Kathleen Wynn is here. She is our Member of Parliament for this area. And she has been faithful and loyal to us here at the center, not only advocating for specifically in her role as MPP, but also when she served as premier and made a difference. I'm going to ask her to come up and say a few words.
Here's what I learned today. Nice to meet you.
Very nice to meet all of you. It's a real honor to be here with all of you, and I am happy to be here to celebrate with you your 40th anniversary. There are many, many organizations that are formed that last 10 years, 15 years, 3 years, but not many last 40 years and thrive the way this one has. So give yourselves a round of applause. It's just amazing. It's wonderful. I know that one of the reasons that you have been so successful is that Reverend Bob was a scary man. One of the first meetings I had when I was elected in 2003 as the member of provincial parliament was with Reverend Bob. And he was, shall I say, very straightforward about how we needed to work together and how government needed to be part of the solution. He never, ever came to my office and said, government has to do everything. He was so clear that he would work with the community and that he had the ability to work with those giants that Derek talked about. But he also was very clear with me that government needed to be part of the solution. So I'm really happy that there are many programs here that are supported by the Ontario government. And I pray and hope that that continues. The last thing I want to say is that in politics, there are lots of people who don't ever talk about religion, don't ever talk about faith. And it's a bit of a taboo sometimes to mix politics and religion. But I just want to say today that with all of the conversation about Christianity or Islam or Judaism, I have rarely met a person who has lived his faith as clearly as Bob Rumball and his family. And so I want to just acknowledge that this place, this vision is infused with a belief in the good of people and the ability of community to do miracles. So I wanted to say again, congratulations. I have the 3rd level of government. I have the 3rd certificate here for you to say congratulations. But all the very best and good luck for another 40 years. Thank you.
Who made this? Who made this? Oh, they're not here. Can I have my 4 guests come back up, please? These are birdhouses out of one of our social enterprises where our young people, our individuals are earning a living. And they made them these were made for you to take home as gifts and a reminder of what Rumball is doing here on Baby.
Let's take a picture. Can you take a picture of us? Derek, can you take a picture of us? Perfect. Thank you.
We would not be here on Bayview if it wasn't for most of you. The origins of what we do started in the church pews of 56 Wellesley Street, downtown Toronto. The Ontario Mission of the Deaf, the Evangelical Church of the Deaf, started never closing the doors, whether it was a Friday night, Sunday afternoon, Tuesday night at midnight. I lived above the church as a kid, and there was always someone at the door in need. And it was the wisdom and the vision of the mission that led to First Women's Hostel, our first group home in Milton. First. Because although my dad was called to do the work that he was doing, he had that uncanny ability to listen. He had the ability to listen. And what he did is he listened to the needs of the community that he was called to serve. Right now, I'm going to ask the chairman of the Ontario Mission of the Deaf, Arthur Lass, to come up and share with you a few words. We would not be here today. We would not be here without the wisdom, the insight, the resources that the mission brought to the table. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to introduce you to the chairman of the board. This is Arthur Lass.
Thank you for allowing me to be here this afternoon. I'm the chair of the Ontario Mission for the Deaf. And Derek asked me, what are you going to talk about today? So I've taken some license from the Signs of the Century. Signs of the Century. So I've taken some excerpts. Okay, so I'm happy to be here at the 40th celebration of BRCCED. And as you know, that the OMD didn't start 40 years ago. It started much more before that. 147 years. Yeah, we're coming up to 2022, 150 years of being actively as the Ontario Mission. So we look forward to the future. I found a book that actually from the Signs of the Century. And what was the starting point? 1858. Sunday school in Toronto. Hattie McGann, she started the first Sunday school. First deaf person. And then the years went by in 1872. We had Fred Bunton. He set up the first deaf church in Toronto, and it was called the Toronto Mission for the Deaf. And then time rolls along, we come back to 1878, and we've got Mason's, the first Sunday school, the first missionary position, first place. And then 1889, we had the first church that sent a man to another place. And then we started with OMD, and it's continued. And then 1908 was the first magazine published called Gospel Light. And then in 1925, we were at Wellesley Street. In 1958, OMD was newly incorporated. And then in 1960, Rumball was looking for a place to have a camp. And as you know, it's up in Parry Sound. And it opened in 1961. And to this day, it's still going strong and seeing major improvements every day, which is a wonderful thing to have happened. And then 1969, the first group home in Milton, Woodbridge, Georgetown, Maxwell Street, London, Belleville. We had group homes starting to populate. And then 1973, well, that Wellesley Church was sold, and then we moved to a temporary location in Elmhurst, on Elmhurst Street in Toronto for a bit. And then we moved here. And then we have our Ecumenical Church for the Deaf here. So now we've got 150 odd years, 7 years of good, strong board leadership. And hopefully that the OMD We'll have another 150 years in our future. And we hope that. We don't know that, but we will pray for that. And God bless you all.
Thank you, Arthur. Over the course of life at Bob Rumball, we've had people that have served on the board of directors. In the beginning, the building was called the Ontario Community Centre for the Deaf, and Whipper and those fellas decided to change the name because, like Reverend Rumball said on the video, that it was easier to get to a person, so it became Bob Rumball. My dad never really enjoyed the accolades of having his name on the building, but he understood why. And one of those gentlemen in the very beginning, who was brought alongside by Whipper from Multiple Sclerosis Society, was Alistair Fraser, and he couldn't be here today, but I'm going to read a note from him. I regret not being present for the celebration today. Having been a member of the board of directors for 39 years and having the privilege of serving as chairman of the board for 25 years, I attest that Reverend Bob Rumball had a dream, and his talent and sure will of purpose made it a success. The center represents the coming of age of a force for the recognition of our deaf community as a vibrant, important contributor to Canadian culture. Best values of hearing and deaf are made the center a reality. Be proud of the achievement, and we look forward to new victories. That's from Al Fraser, who's probably golfing, and I hope he's watching. The current chairman of the board, Jane Huey, who has been immersed in the life of the center since day one, was not able to be with us today. It's a privilege to serve and be part of this community my entire life, and to congratulate all of you on this 40th anniversary of being on Bayview. The story of how we got here is well over 150 years old, with its roots in ECD and the Ontario Mission of the Deaf. We look at even the last two generations of names like the Dewicks, the Hardys, Henshaws, Potts, Johnson, Francis Gregory, Gladys Doyle. They all made a difference. The OMD were the ones who stepped up for providing the homes that are still serving today. It's an attitude of others first, communication-rich and barrier-free environment. For the staff and the volunteers, and for those that we serve, congratulations. 40 years is a long time. This is just the first 40 years. We have served countless number of people over the years, and I'm going to introduce you to someone who now lives with me, not with me, lives with us here. Maybe if someone could help, Andrew, if you could help Margaret, come on up. Margaret Horn moved in with us just a little over a year ago, and I'm just going to end today's festivities with just a little conversation with her that I think you would be enlightened by. Yeah, so come on over here. So Margaret, you came back to Canada serving as a missionary in the early 80s, and was in that first group of people that got to experience life here on Bayview, a center for the community.
Yeah.
How has the center, the church, the residents here been an influence, and how has that affected your life?
Well, living here is very different. And I've been living here since April the 20th of 2018. So it's been a year I've been living here. And I was asked, what was my favorite thing? My favorite things are old things. But going downstairs to play with the people downstairs once a week, that is what I still love to do. And I will for as long as I can. And well, and I remember 15 or so years ago in Jamaica, not Barrie, people, this is Jamaica, okay? Please, let's get the signs right. So 15 years ago, and that year that I was leaving for good, because I've been going for 15 years, and I was very disappointed, but when I arrived here to this very place, it was ready, it seemed ready for me. There was a church, there was fellowship, there was friendship, and it was all here, right here. I knew, but I wasn't sure that was going to be finished. And would it be finished on time for me? And I wish my friends, and I have many friends, and Rumball was here, to see you, right? To see this being built, and to see the improvements. And I so wish so much that he could be here to see all this.
Perfect words, and I did not script this with her. The place was ready for her. And that's the message that we are sending out to all of you, is that we are ready. We don't have enough space. We'll talk about that one later. But we are ready. Like the chairman of the board said, this is just the first 40. We're not done. Milestones are always good. And I'm going to introduce you to someone who reached their 100th milestone. And can someone bring Mary up? I'd like her to introduce her to people. Yes, Mary, it is you. Who else is 100 here?
I really don't want you.
I know. Mary, we want you to have this.
Mary, when I invited Mary to, when I invited Mary to come to the celebration, she looked at me right in the eye and says, "You never talked to me." And I was kind of heartbroken. And then she said, "I'll come if you send me a written invitation." So I hope that got done. Mary, we love you, and we are so glad that you are here with us.
Yes, no, I did not get a written invitation. I didn't get anything.
Shame on me. Shame on me.
I'm going to scold you.
We are our good friends at the Granite Club across the road were so kind to us, and they donated. They whatever master chef they have over there or bakery person, they made us this giant two giant cakes for us today and for Mary's birthday, our celebration and hers. And we're going to share that with you over there. I got you all were given a ticket coming in, and you put it in the thing. I'm going to raffle it. I'm really tired. I'm going to raffle that off, and then there's no way that I could express to you for those of you who don't understand what's happening, it's very difficult to see the interpreter without a solid background, because all this busyness doesn't help. There's no way that I would be able to find the right words to conclude today. Now, fortunately, my dad was never shy of a video camera or a microphone. And so he's going to give us a send-off today. But, you know, whether we are serving here, whether we are serving in Milton Halton or Belleville and Ottawa, and you know, as we venture north into North Bay and into the Sudbury area, perseverance, inspiration, aspiration, all will be identified with Rumball making a difference in the life of the people who need service. There's no one else doing what we do. If you're a staff member here, can you just do this? If you're a staff member and you're awake, can you just do this? Thank you. You make a difference. You make a difference. So if you can get your draw ticket. All right. I think it's a 087 0928. 0928 are the last four numbers.
Over here. We got somebody here.
So you're going to take home with you one of our Muskoka wood, yeah, one of our Muskoka chairs made by individuals in the Milton Halton program. We'll make sure that you get that. So
I got the right number, though.
you win. You win. Yes, you do win.
Thank you.
So thank you for coming. There's going to be cake and coffee and that kind of celebration over there, but please, I just want you to sit tight and just, there's no better way for me to end today's ceremony other than to say thank you and to remind all of you that we're not done. What you see here on Bayview and what happens across the province that has the Rumball butterfly attached to it, we are not done. We will continue to serve you in the best way possible. Reverend Rumball's words will send us out, and when he's done, we'll have to figure out what happens over there in a minute. But thank you for coming and your graciousness and your generosity. And again, thank you. Thank you.
They have a place, they have the opportunity. They got together and had fun. Heard about needs, supplied answers, supplied tools, become involved. To make it the kind of world that at least we have some hope of making it a little better. When people do nothing, nothing happens. When people get together, it's surprising what can happen. And for the deaf that you may not ever know, or never ever hear them say, let me say for them, thanks.
Oh,